that USBs and wires have been around for a very long time. We think they're very it's actually quite easy to get it right, and especially if you're using secure programming languages such as Rust, you'll find that a lot of these USB exploits and such are happening in programming languages which are very easy to make memory mistakes, such as the C programming language. So we think with Rust and things, it's actually very easy to get this right, to make a device that cannot be corrupted over a wire, and actually verify that it's behaving honestly.
So another facet that I would like to explore a little bit is the idea of multi-sig, right? And so that's always having a big moment right now. A lot of people are being like, okay, is my security setup good enough? What should I be doing? So I'd love to hear from you guys on just your thoughts on whether you think multi-sig will be the future of how people are securing their funds. What are the kind of pros and cons? How can we actually make that something that's easily usable? And is this a good direction for us to be going down in terms of what we're recommending for people to do?
So I've been talking to Nick a lot over there at the Open Source Hub, and just talking about Frost. Kind of appeases one of the biggest concerns I had with multisig because of the descriptor being such a complicated piece of data. I really like multisig, but I still feel like at the current state the traditional multisig is extremely complicated to use. I don't think it's necessarily an engineering problem, it's more of a usability problem, but things like FrostSnap I think bring this much closer to the fruition of the distributed key devices, making that level of security much higher.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on your personal circumstance. If you're a solo individual who's a digital nomad, it's going to be really hard for you to use multi-sig in any meaningful way, unless you're using it with a collaborative custodian, like Unchained or Casa. Another one I'd like to throw out there is Liana Wallet is these decaying multi-sigs is a really cool tool that I think more and more people are sort of waking up to the power of those time locks. But for us, we think that if you're going to take Bitcoin seriously, you should have multi-signature by default. You should have your life savings you shouldn't be able to spend them in 5 minutes. It should be difficult for you to spend your life savings. You should have to go to different places, speak to different people, and that makes you puts you in a really, really strong position from the threat of wrench attacks or even scams. It's a lot harder to get scammed if you've got to drive and talk to people.
Multisig, we could consider multisig for large amount of transaction. It could be help, for the case of poor cards, because the hackers didn't even need to send some email phishing or even access to a device they generated multiple seed phrase, and then they check if there's some Bitcoin, and then if yes, they send to their wallet. So maybe the users to avoid a good practice for them to avoid to lose money is to agree it could also bring it be more secure, but also bring some small friction as well, because operate it every day is not really user friendly. So this is maybe a good trade-off is maybe use it for large amounts and small amounts doing with a single sig.
Yeah, it's a really important point. Multi-sig is inconvenient by design. Spending wallet, you don't want your spending wallet to be a multi-sig where you've got to, go home and I want to pay for something at this Bitcoin conference. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, good point.
So you guys both kind of mentioned hacks just now, and oftentimes people don't end up losing their funds really through some sophisticated hack. A lot of times it's just human error. And I feel like as maybe an industry, we've just really accepted the friction point that it's maybe difficult to properly store your seed, or if you lose it, you lose it. And so what are your thoughts in terms of advancements you see in how we can help reduce that friction and to help reduce kind of that human error element if we're going to continue promoting obviously self-custody and wanting to make that a tool that's even easier for mainstream everyday users?
It's a really interesting one. I think I do quite appreciate how the approach BitKey is taking here. Like, I think they've made a really solid device for a great deal of Bitcoiners, and that might not necessarily be us Bitcoiners on the stage, but not having a seed phrase to like make you a target of these phishing attacks or losing it or leaving it out on your desk or something. I think that's really cool. But it does have this compromise, right? Of if you don't have a seed phrase, then it's it's a lot harder to get your money out of it. So I do like to think there's some like future middle ground where we maybe we don't have these seed phrases we have to manually write down, but maybe there's some, but we still have these backups that are robust and reliable, and we can sort of dynamically like rotate them and update our keys, and it keeps us in like a really foot guns of self-custody.
I really like seed phrases. I like descriptors. I like the interoperability of allowing users not to be stuck on an app or a device. I do see some problems, but there's something about the human readability of a set of 24 or 12 words that makes it very easy to explain to people. But I know that there are some problems.
It's a tricky one, right? It's a superpower for people like yourself and people on the stage. It's like having a seed phrase like that's such a superpower. But then you give it to someone just getting into Bitcoin, and they're like they just take a photo of it or something. So yeah, it's so tricky. I'd be curious, like what is there anything in Cake Wallet that you guys do around like the phrases and such?
No, that's an interesting point, because when, even here at conferences, right, we're helping people set up wallets. Maybe they've never used Lightning, and so we're helping them. And the amount of people that just take a screenshot of that seed phrase and like, oh no, don't do that. And so there's so much education that needs to be done around that. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something our dev team is always looking at, is how can we help kind of there's less of that human error. But it is, like we've talked about, it is a bit of a friction point right now. I mean, we do have people verify it in different ways to make sure they saved it properly, so they have to, verify what was the fifth letter, this or that, but that doesn't make it easier necessarily. It just means that hopefully they actually did save it properly. But yeah, no, I think that it'll be interesting to see. I think in the coming years we'll see a lot of advancement in that, but what that looks like, I think is still kind of rolling out. But I know that we have just a little bit of time left, and so one of the things that I would really just like to quickly touch on, because I think it's very topical for people right now too, is we've seen a big increase in wrench attacks and physical. Your perspective, like how can people kind of best protect themselves? Is it to utilize some sort of duress mode? Is it to have a decoy wallet? Is it, what are kind of what can people think about before they're in an unfortunate situation to kind of hopefully set themselves up?
A really important one that I think not enough people hardware wallets to your home address. Like it's so easy, at least in most countries I'm aware of, that to get like a parcel locker or to get an address forwarding place. There's Ledger now, Trezor, there's been a bunch of others that, your Coinbase, like even exchanges, KYC services altogether, it puts you on a target list. The French tax data has been the biggest source of wrench attacks. There's a list, physical Bitcoin attacks, just search that one on Google. Pretty much like a lot of the organized and sophisticated wrench attacks are coming from data leaks, and those data leaks can make you a target.
So don't sell your Bitcoin in France. There's also something else that I've been getting more and more paranoid, and I see a lot of people not really caring about, is connecting to public servers and checking their balances and broadcasting their transactions in just any random Electrum server. I'm not aware of any attack that has surfaced because of that, but I know that these days with AI it's very easy to set up a node. You can just buy a hardware, an SSD, and shitty computer and you can set up yourself a node, connect through Tor.
You would be surprised at how much chaos a malicious Electrum server, a malicious like blockchain server can cause. If you're connecting to someone else's like, you know, they're telling you what the truth is about the blockchain rather than your own Bitcoin node, they can really. It's kind of like assumed, right? You're just sort of trusting this server. So I think it's crucial that you use a hardware wallet that you can plug in, you can connect to your own node. It's, you know, it's the privacy, it's the security, super important. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we just to wrap up quickly, I would just love to hear from each of you quickly on the next 100 million users for Bitcoin. What do we need to do to improve self-custody? What's the biggest thing we can be working on?
Just make it enjoyable, not make it a chore, not make it a homework. Although, just a caveat, with the cold card, a lot of people actually kept their funds safe because it was so hard.
It's a really good question. I think the fun is a part of it. I think there has to be sort of some social virality that I think Bitcoin has sort of lost a little bit. The sort of, you know, the early use cases that brought me to Bitcoin of freedom money are sort of not as valued as much anymore as they used to be. And I think, you know, the number go up doesn't so much necessarily get people into self-custody. So I think to get, you know, millions and millions of people into self-custody would be the big win for me. And I think there's a great deal we've got to do there. I think, everything we've discussed today, just making the user experience better, more fun, and more infectious. Yeah.
I think for me, like to get like mass adoption, self-custody, like it to be feel more natural. You know, like for example, like our product is a good example when you're signing transaction. You know, you just put a card. I mean, you prepare a transaction on your phone. You have a wallet, and then you tap on your phone. When you sign your transaction, you know, it's like using the whole process looks like using your credit card in the real life. So you know, there is no new ritual. The action is quite intuitive. So I think when self-custody will feel like more natural, could achieve, you know, like this kind of mass adoption.
Awesome. Well, wait, do you have one more thing?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the problem is, it's this tension of the compromises, right? It's like, if we make it super easy, where we've got this like, you know, this 2FA device where we can't actually verify the transaction, or we're trying it to generate entropy, it's like, you can make the user experience super good, and then you're sacrificing the security of the system. So yeah, I think there's a very careful balance. We need to like very carefully design how we, you know, make that system for the next millions and millions of people.
Well, thank you all for taking the time to be on this panel and this discussion. Thank all of you for coming and joining and watching. And as you saw, like really the topic of self-custody and how do we create these wallets without compromise, where we are improving this, is such a big topic. It's such an important thing that's being worked on in the industry right now. So thanks to all of you for all the work that you're doing. So.